My twin sister is a top-level love brain and was coaxed into marriage by a scumbag in order to take over all of our family property. The scumbag instigated my sister to poison me to death. Starting over again, I went back to the day when my sister begged me to invest in her boyfriend. One sister. I know you love me the most. Jack wants to buy shares in a plastic surgery and beauty hospital, and is still short of 500 yuan. Just for paying my pocket money for me. Ella's coquettize voice reached my ears. I looked at Ella, who was shaking my arm. And I was in a daze for a while. Aren't I already dead? I died at the hands of Ella and her boyfriend. In my previous life. My parents died suddenly in an air crash. And as the older sister, I took over the business left by my parents. Although I was only born a few minutes earlier than Ella, I had always been extremely doting on this twin sister. Until Ella made a boyfriend. I saw that the other party had impure motives and strongly opposed their marriage. The scumbag coaxed and deceived her. Not only successfully got the marriage certificate with my sister, but also had his eyes on our Ava family's company. In order to take over all of our family property, he instigated my sister to poison me, which led to my death from poisoning. And I died alone on a cold night. In my previous life. Just because I tried to stop my sister from being a love brain and earnestly advised her. She blamed me for all of Jack's sarcasm and domestic violence against her, and finally ended up killing me instead. Starting over this time, I decided to stand by and watch coldly. You can taste the bitter fruits of being a love brain in the advanced stage by yourself. All right. I can prepay your 1-year pocket money. I regained my thoughts. Different from my strong opposition in the previous life. I agreed to give my sister the money to lend to her boyfriend. I knew my sister was the best. I'll tell Jack this good news right away. My sister took it for granted. Holding the bank card I gave her. She only thought about going back to take credit with her boyfriend. However, since I have prepaid your pocket money, you can't ask me for it again this year. I pretended to be as gentle and doting as always. But there was a cold glint in my eyes. But Ella didn't take it seriously. In her eyes, I had always been obedient to her. For any of her requests. She just needed to act coquettish to me. Got it. Sister. Jack said he would support me in the future. Ella's face was full of a happy expression. Eager to tell Jack this good news, Ella left home joyfully. I reorganized my thoughts and recalled all the details of being persecuted in my previous life. I, Ava, am the chairman and CEO of Company A. All along, I had protected Ella perfectly, so that few people outside knew that the tough-minded businesswoman, President Ava of Company A, had an identical twin sister. However, it was this strict protection that made the leaked indecent video of Ella become my fatal weakness. All the criticism was directed at me, who looked exactly like Ella. And the overwhelming online violence remarks on the internet engulfed me. Moreover, as the company's chairman, the company was also in jeopardy during this storm. The scumbag took the opportunity to take over all of our family property and instigated my sister to poison and kill me. In this life, I will never let such a tragedy happen again. But the tricky problem is that Ella and I are twins, and look almost identical. And it is even more difficult to distinguish under the blurry video pixels. How on earth should I break this situation? 3. I opened my mobile phone and scrolled through my WeChat moments. My WeChat moments were almost always dominated by Ella's 9-grid pictures all year round. I was also the first to notice the signs of Jack's ill intentions from her WeChat moments. As expected, after getting 500 yuan, Ella and her boyfriend must be very affectionate with each other. Surely they will post a set of 9-grid pictures showing their love tonight. Jack's mother knew that I liked seafood. She specially made a whole crab feast. I have never had such a special seafood dinner before. It was really delicious and novel. The accompanying pictures were several photos of dishes, plus self-portraits of Ella and Jack and his mother at the dinner table. The angle at which Ella held her mobile phone for a selfie, with Jack's one hand around Ella, and the other around his mother. The 3 of them had their heads close together, looking very intimate, just like a happy family. And it was this special whole crab feast that really surprised me. In the photo, there was a dish of crab roe tofu, with a few scattered crab roe grains floating in it. Almost all tofu. There was a dish of crab leg scrambled eggs, with 8 crab legs surrounding a lump of scrambled eggs in the middle, and the presentation was rather exquisite. There was a dish of crab bodies stir-fried with green peppers, with the crab body cut into 4 pieces surrounded by a large lump of green peppers. There was also a dish of crab claw fritters, and 2 crab claws could be vaguely seen in the flour paste. There was a bowl of crab shell floating crab and winter melon soup. The whole crab feast made from a fist-sized crab was really an eye-opener. I was so speechless that I could only hold my forehead and smile bitterly. Ella had been brought up in luxury since she was a child. Even after her parents died, she had never suffered a bit. This little princess who had been pampered since childhood could be so happy to eat such a garbage, whole crab feast. She had become so incurable in being a love brain. Thinking about how naive and stupid I was in my previous life, I actually thought she could still be saved. For a week after getting 500 yuan, Ella and Jack became even more inseparable. I hadn't seen her for several days in a row, and she didn't even come home at all. One night, just as the nanny had set the dishes on the table, Ella suddenly came back. "Sister, I'm back. I missed you so much," she shouted merrily while casually throwing her bag aside, and then rushed towards me like a gust of wind. I still pretended to be doting and stretched out my finger to scrape her nose, with a bit of banter in my tone. "Sis, I have something to tell you." Ella took my hand and put on a Coke at this look on her face. But my intuition told me that there must be something wrong when things are abnormal. "Let's have dinner first and talk while eating." I took Ella to the dining table and sat down. The dishes on the table were the same as usual, but Ella pursed her lips in disgust. "Sis, why didn't I cook such bland dishes? It looks unappetizing. Jack's mother cooks spicy and delicious dishes. Next time I'll invite you to have a taste." Ella poked at the dishes twice with her chopsticks and had no intention of eating. "You just said you had something to say. What is it?" As I picked up the dishes and put them in my mouth, I seemingly casually brought the topic back. I didn't want to be served a whole crab feast, made by a crab. "Sis, Jack has invested in a plastic surgery hospital. He wants me to be the promotional ambassador of their hospital." When mentioning Jack, Ella's eyes sparkled with happiness. She was surrounded by the pink bubbles of love. "But before, sis, you always told me not to show my face in public. So I come to ask for your opinion. In the past, for the sake of protection, I had always prevented Ella from showing up in public, because I didn't want those with ill intentions in the business battlefield to target her. But at this moment, she had long lost the qualification to be carefully protected by me. She could poison her own sister to death for a scumbag man. Why should I still protect her under my wings? Sure, sis fully supports you in developing your own career." I smiled gently, but the smile didn't reach my eyes. "I knew you were the best. Sis, by the way, does sis also want to take care of Jack's business and have a few plastic surgery projects?" Sure enough, Ella couldn't go 3 sentences without mentioning Jack. This year the company is busy going public. There are so many meetings every day. Plastic surgery projects need a recovery period. Where do I have the time? I made an excuse of being busy with work to decline. Then if you become the promotional ambassador of the hospital, do you also need to have plastic surgery projects? I asked tentatively. Of course. Jack arranged for the most experienced doctor in the hospital to give me a face-to-face diagnosis and determine a comprehensive plastic surgery plan. Jack said they are all minor adjustment surgeries, which will only make me more beautiful and are risk-free. Every time Jack was mentioned, Ella showed the shyness of a little woman. Her love-stricken idiocy made me sick. When Ella bent over, I accidentally caught sight of a Cupid's arrow tattoo on her chest, which I had never seen before. Probably it was to cater to Jack's taste again. 5 When I was extremely busy with the company's going public matter, Ella became the image ambassador of the plastic surgery hospital and began to promote it vigorously on the internet. For the sake of the promotional effect, she even made a big fuss about the title of being the twin sister of the chairman of Company A. Take the opportunity this summer vacation to become beautiful secretly. Secrets shared by real socialites. The choice of the rich and beautiful heiress. How did the rich secretly become beautiful, carve out beauty and achieve your noble life? The advertising and marketing were overwhelming. All kinds of platforms such as live streaming, short videos, and Xiaoganshu were all pervaded. In one summer, Ella, relying on her identity as a rich and beautiful socialite, directly ranked among the top-tier internet famous plastic surgery-related influencers. During this period, Ella also mentioned her marriage with Jack to me on the phone. I fully supported her decision. When I opened my WeChat moments again and saw Ella's latest selfie, I almost didn't recognize her. Her originally delicate phoenix eyes were made into big double eyelids in the European style. Her nose was so pointed that one worried whether she could breathe smoothly. Her jaw seemed to be smaller too. Her figure was also more voluptuous than before. In order to show her figure in all aspects, the photo was taken in a bikini on the beach. The Cupid's arrow tattoo on her chest was clearly visible. Her originally gentle and delicate oriental beauty face was turned into an internet-famous face. Now, we look very different from each other. It can't be seen at all that we were once identical twins. Less than half a year after her glory days, Ella came home again. As expected, she came to ask for money this time as well. Sis, Jack's hospital is doing extremely well in business now. We have ordered a lot of raw materials from abroad again, and there are some problems with the cash flow. Can you lend me $5 million for turnover? Ella asked for $5 million as soon as she opened her mouth. As if the family's money came easily. Ella, it's not that sis doesn't want to give you money. In order to go public, the company has to pay off the previous debts. I have mortgaged my house for borrowing. I really don't have money for you to turn over. Wait for a while. When the cash flow gets better and I have spare money, I will give it to you. It was a fact that I didn't have any spare money at hand. Our family has such a big company, but it can't even come up with $5 million. What will Jack think of me? Ella, with her internet-famous face, had a somewhat ferocious hysterical expression. By the way, Ella, what about your own house? If you need temporary capital turnover, you can use your house as collateral for a mortgage loan first. Although after my parents' death, I had been in charge of the whole family business alone. But I had always adhered to the principle that the family property was divided equally between the two sisters. So Ella and I each inherited one of our parents' houses. Sis, the hospital promotion needs promotion fees. I sold my house and invested it. Jack said the promotion effect was very good and I would earn back several times the amount in the future and get my money back. When Ella said this, her eyes flickered a little. Obviously, she also knew that her behavior of selling the house was too hasty. No wonder the small plastic surgery hospital's advertisements could be so widespread. It turned out that she used the house of this love-stricken idiot to fill the hole. It refreshed my understanding of love-stricken idiots once again. I was simply speechless. All right then. Jack and I will think of other ways. You must give me the money, some time later. Ella nervously exhorted me. I got it. When did I ever deceive you? Sister? I had a smile on my face. But in my heart, I scoffed at her. Wait until that scumbag drains all your money and lets you. This love-stricken fool. See his true face. 7. I opened my mobile phone and scrolled through moments. In the past few days since Ella left, she had updated several 9-grid moments. I originally thought that without getting the money back, Jack would be a bit cold to her. But unexpectedly, her life still seemed wonderful. I clicked on the photos with some interest. It was a 9-grid of Ella waiting for the train at the railway station. One photo was particularly conspicuous. In the picture, she was eating a self-heating hot pot. She looked as if she was enjoying a rare delicacy in the world. When I saw the accompanying text, I was once again shocked by her loss-stricken fool behavior and felt my values completely shattered. Unlock a new life experience. Many passengers don't know that self-heating hot pots can't be taken on the train. There are a lot of confiscated self-heating hot pots at the security checkpoint. Jack's mother said we could ask the security guard for them to eat. It's so delicious to eat free self-heating hot pots when you're hungry. It was me who asked the security guard for them. Brother Jack praised me for being so brave. I sighed in my heart. You are really brave. You don't want to be the little princess, who is pampered at home, but go to his place to beg for food and can still eat with great relish. I just felt both helpless and sad. At last time they didn't get the money, and I had a strong premonition in my heart. That's Comeback Jack, would never let it go easily, and would definitely not keep quiet for a few days. Sure enough, not long after, Ella happily brought Jack back home. As soon as she entered the door, Ella rushed to me like a cheerful little bird. Sister, look who's here. Her face was full of a happy smile. She tightly held Jack's hand and brought him in front of me, her eyes full of joy. Jack had a false smile on his face and bowed slightly and said, CEO Ava. Hello. Nice to meet you. I'm Jack. Looking at his pretentious appearance, I felt a surge of disgust in my heart. The expression on my face was almost out of control. Ella gently tugged at Jack's clothes corner. Looking shy. Jack. You should call her sister. Why do you call her CEO Ava? Her voice was gentle and sweet, full of love for Jack. Ella took out two marriage certificates from her bag and waved them gently in her hand as if showing off. Sister. We got the marriage license. Jack said he had long wanted to marry me. Finally. We found time to get the license recently. Jack immediately said, Yes. Sister. From now on, we are family. Ella and I have also discussed it, and are ready to have a child. In the future, when Ella and I have a child, all the money of the Ava family will be ours in the end. I sneered in my heart. This scumbag really doesn't hide it at all, and can't wait to take over everything. But on the surface, I remained calm and said with a smile, Oh, this is really a great happy event. After the company goes public, I will definitely give you a big red envelope. As soon as Ella heard this, she quickly grabbed Jack's arm and said in a delicate manner, Yes, Jack. Sister is right. When the company goes public, we will have everything. Jack's face darkened, but soon he regained his false smile. All right. Sister, when will our company go public? I said with a smile. Soon. It's in the final stage. But in my heart, I felt nauseated. Can Ella really not see such a low-level scumbag's money scamming trick? At a time node similar to the previous life. An indecent video quietly spread on the internet. It was filmed by Ella to pass Jack's obedience test. Pay to viewpoint in the previous life. Ella was protected tightly by me. I, who shared the same face with her, was pushed to the cusp of public opinion on the internet. As a semi-public figure, not only was I cyber-bullied, but the Ava family's company was also affected. But this time, the situation was completely different. In the video, Ella, after major plastic surgery, had a face like thousands of internet-famous faces, with no distinctiveness at all. Sharp-eyed netizens accurately dug out, internet-famous socialite, Ella by virtue of the Cupid tattoo on the chest of the female led in the video. Instantly, there was an uproar on the internet, and all kinds of accusations and criticisms flooded towards Ella like a tide. Since then, Ella has been completely blocked on the internet. She can no longer be an image ambassador to advertise for plastic surgery hospitals. All kinds of claims for breach of contract compensation poured in like snowflakes. And the plastic surgery hospital also went bankrupt as a result. Fortunately, the whole incident did not affect the pace of the Ava family companies going public. The Public Relations Department quickly issued a statement, deciding this matter as Ella's personal behavior, successfully isolating this crisis from the company's development. 9. During the fermentation of the video incident on the internet, Ella called me. She didn't worry at all whether her behavior had affected the reputation of the Ava family at all. She still just wanted to borrow 5 million yuan. I coldly refused on the grounds that the company was still in the process of going public and had no working capital on hand. Soon after, Ella suddenly led Jack and his mother, with big and small bags, back home. I looked at them and the luggage all over the floor, full of astonishment. "What are you doing?" Ella blushed a little embarrassed and said, "Sister, the hospital is in liquidation after going bankrupt. You promised to give me the money but haven't given it all the time." Jack could only sell his family's house first to make up for the debt. Ella still did not forget to warmly greet Jack and his mother to come in. "Mom. Jack. Come in quickly. Just think of this as your own home. Don't be polite. My sister is one of us. Anyway, the house is so big. It's lively with more people living together. I'm extremely speechless. But it's not easy to lose my temper right away. Who wants to be part of the same family as a scumbag?" 10 After the three of them moved in, Jack would sometimes deliberately scold Ella in front of the nanny on purpose, deliberately using the nanny as a messenger. On this day, the nanny was cleaning the living room while Jack was lying on the sofa watching TV and provoking Ella. "Ella, look at you. And then look at your sister. Your sister is so good at making money and runs the company so well. What about you? You haven't made any money and even made me sell my house. You're so useless." As soon as Ella heard this, her eyes instantly turned red and she said in a trembling voice, "Jack, the publicity I did for the hospital before had a very good effect. Who knew that the video we shot would be leaked?" Jack's eyes were evasive. "Obviously the leakage of the video was no accident. It's all because of your tattoo. Otherwise netizens wouldn't have recognized that it was you in the video." Jack shifted the blame to Ella. Seeing that she didn't say anything, Jack continued his PUA. "Your company is so big. Yet you can't even come up with 5 million. If you had half the ability of your sister, I wouldn't be homeless now." Jack's mother chimed in to scold Ella as well. "Exactly. My son is so excellent. If he had married your sister, who knows how well off we would be now. Maybe we would already have a grandson. Moreover, this family also made all kinds of difficulties for the nanny. If the dishes made by the nanny were a little not to their taste, they would start swearing. What kind of dish is this? It has no taste at all." Jack shouted angrily. His mother directly overturned the dish on the table. "Exactly. Don't you know that the host family likes spicy food? Hurry up and go remake it." The nanny was so angry that her face turned bright red. But Jack still wouldn't let it go. "We paid you to make us satisfied. If you can't do it well, you still give me a long face." The nanny couldn't bear it any longer and came to me crying, "Miss, I really can't serve this family anymore. I want to resign." I sighed helplessly and comforted the aunt. "Auntie, hold on a little longer. I'll find a way to solve this." But in my heart, I was planning how to get them out of here next. 71 Gradually, this family was acting completely like the masters in my house. Jack swaggered through all the rooms and rummaged through the things in the house at will. His mother directed the nanny to do this, and that as if she were the mistress of this house. Once, I saw Jack's mother sitting in the main seat in the living room, eating fruit while giving orders to the nanny. "Go. Take that vase away from me. It's so in the way. Also, mop the floor again. It's so dirty." And Ella, on the side, didn't seem to think there was anything wrong with it either. I couldn't bear it any longer. I walked over and picked up the vase that my mother loved most before she passed away. "This is my home. Please be a little more self-aware," Jack shamelessly said. "This is Ella's home. So it's our home." I was trembling with anger. "You move out immediately." As soon as Jack's mother heard this, she immediately started making a scene. "Why should we move out? We have nowhere to go. Ella and my son are married. We have the right to live here." Ella also stood on their side and blamed me. "Sister, if it weren't for you always delaying giving the money, how could Jack have sold his house to get the money to make up for it?" Before, the three of us in our family were very happy. Do you think I was eager to come back and live here? It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Ella still blamed me for everything she had suffered. She thought that if I had been willing to give them money at the beginning, Jack wouldn't have sold his house and wouldn't have been in a bad mood and lost his temper with her. I held the vase and looked at Ella coldly, full of disappointment in my heart, and then turned around and left home. 12 after Jack's family had freeloaded for a while. They found that I had no intention of giving them money at all, but they were reluctant to move out of the spacious and comfortable big house. On this day, Jack and his mother were whispering in the room to discuss countermeasures. Jack's mother looked very worried. Son, what should we do? That woman is determined and not to give us money. It's not a solution to keep dragging like this either. Jack frowned tightly and a sly look flashed in his eyes. Mom, I have an idea. Ella listens to me in everything. I'll deceive her into drugging her sister. As long as I sleep with her sister too. Both sisters will be mine. And won't all the money of the Ava family be ours? Jack's mother praised repeatedly. Our Jack is so resourceful. At this time, I was checking the surveillance footage in my room and felt extremely disgusted. From the moment they moved into my house, I had been on guard against poisoning. I just didn't expect that this time. He also had the idea of sleeping with me. Of course I won't fall into the same pit twice. I had installed surveillance cameras in every room long ago. Looking at their ugly faces in the surveillance footage made me extremely nauseated. Jack and his mother began to persuade Ella in turn. Jack hugged Ella affectionately, pretending to be affectionate. Ella, look, your family's company makes so much money. And your sister is so ruthless. Half of your family's company also belongs to you. Why does she refuse to give you money? Why don't we drug her to make her temporarily lose her ability to move? When you take over your family's company and we operate the company to make a lot of money, she will even thank you. At first, Ella was full of horror and shook her head repeatedly, saying, How can this be done? She is my sister. Jack's mother quickly interrupted on the side. Silly girl. Your sister doesn't care about your feelings at all now. When we have money, our future life will be better. You can't be so soft-hearted. Otherwise we will all end up on the streets. Under the continuous persuasion and pressure from Jack and his mother, Ella's heart began to waver and finally she agreed. 13 Since learning of their conspiracy, I have been going home less and less frequently. I no longer eat anything at home. I also let the nanny aunt disclose the news that I have put the house up for sale. Seeing that his plan of drugging me failed and the house was put up for sale, Jack vented all his anger on Ella. In the living room, Jack slapped Ella twice across the face. You useless thing. You can't even do such a simple thing well. Now she is going to sell the house. And we will be homeless. I'll beat you to death. You useless thing. Ella was thrown onto the carpet by the slap. And then was beaten again. Her already over-surgically altered face was distorted with crying. Jack. My sister hasn't been home recently. I had no chance to drug her. Give me a little more time. But Jack was relentless and continued to domestic abuse Ella. Jack's mother watched on the side, sneering. Useless thing. You can't even do this little thing well. I should have known not to count on you. Jack. Don't be angry. I know it's all my sister's fault. It's she who made you sell the house. But Jack. It's my sister's fault. I still love you. Ella had never resented Jack for domestic abuse. Instead, she resented me for not giving her money, which led to her being treated like this. After seeing Jack domestic abuse Ella from the surveillance camera, I was both angry and helpless in my heart. But it's hard to persuade the doomed. All this was the path Ella had chosen for herself. 14 Although the drugging plan failed, Jack didn't give up. This time, he conspired with his mother to poison me directly and kill me, so that they could embezzle the Ava family's property once and for all. Call your sister back for dinner. Tell her that we are moving away, and we want to thank her properly. In the surveillance video, Jack was sitting on the sofa, hugging Ella rather gently, which was rare recently. Jack let her rest her head on his shoulder and stroked Ella's hair gently. Great, Jack. We can finally go back to the happy days before. Where is our new house? Hearing this, Ella's face immediately showed joy. She hugged Jack's waist tightly and rubbed her head against Jack's neck. A sinister smile curled up at the corner of Jack's mouth. Silly girl. Of course we won't move away immediately. As long as your sister comes back to eat the dishes we have spiked. We can go wherever we want once we get the money. Jack lifted Ella's chin and affectionately kissed her on the nose. Really, Jack? As long as we get the money. Will we be like before again? Ella was bewitched by the sweet words and her eyes were shining with longing. On my side. As expected. I received a call from Ella. There was a trace of deliberate flattery in her voice. Sister. Jack has found a new place to live. We are moving away. We want to invite you to come home for dinner tonight to thank you for your care during this time. 15 After receiving Ella's call, I arrived as promised in the evening, but I was accompanied by the police. The police quickly took control of the scene, and the inspectors detected a large amount of the deadly poison cyanide in the dinner dishes. I took out the surveillance videos of Jack and his mother's conspiracy, and the video of Jack asking Ella to send the nanny away to poison me as evidence. With conclusive evidence, the police did not hesitate to handcuff the three of them and prepare to take them away. Sister, Jack didn't really want to harm you. As long as you give us money, our life will be the same as before. We are still family. At this time, Ella was full of panic, but she was still defending Jack. Ella, there is cyanide in the dishes. Eating it will kill you. Jack wants me dead. Sister, there must be some mistake. Let the police let us go. We will move away immediately. Okay? Ella continued to shout at me. I remained silent, watching the backs of Jack, Ella and his mother being taken away by the police. My mood was extremely complicated. Unfortunately, since the incident did not cause serious consequences, their sentences were not severe. Because Ella didn't know that the cyanide put into the dishes was a deadly poison, and she was in a relatively passive role in the whole incident. She was recognized as an accessory and was sentenced to only 1 year. Jack's mother, also as an accessory, was also sentenced to 1 year. And Jack, as the principal offender, was sentenced to 3 years. And this judgment was just a short pause for this farce. I knew that things were far from over. 16 Although Ella deserved her punishment, after all, she was my only relative in this world, I still decided to visit her in prison. When I saw Ella again, her appearance made my heart tighten. That over-surgically altered face looked a little stiff and uneven without makeup. She looked extremely old because she wasn't wearing makeup. Her eyes were bloodshot. Her face was as pale as paper. And her hair was in a mess. There was still resentment in her eyes as she spoke viciously. Sister, why are you so heartless? All of this could have been solved with money. Why did you have to send us to a dead end? I looked at her, this younger sister whom I once doted on deeply, and my heart ached. Ella, don't you understand yet? Jack only wants your money. He doesn't really love you. But Ella couldn't listen at all and shouted at me loudly. You are just selfish. You want to embezzle the company and money left by our parents. Jack was so good to me before. It's all your fault. I sighed helplessly. Ella turned her head away and said coldly, I don't want to see you anymore. Just go. Our relationship is over from now on. Don't come here again. Ella only left a resolute figure of her back and slammed the iron door of the visiting room without looking back. The heavy sound of the door closing hit hard on my heart. I stood there, with mixed feelings in my heart. Perhaps this would be the last time we sisters would meet in this life. 17. A year passed in a hurry. During this period, Ava's family company was successfully listed on the stock market, and I became the chairman of the listed company. As Ella's release from prison was approaching, I finally sent my driver to wait at the prison gate. The driver didn't pick up Ella. The prison guard said that Ella had gone back to Jack's hometown with Jack's mother. Later, I managed to bribe Aunt Sham, a neighbor in Jack's hometown village. I asked her to tell me about Ella's situation regularly. Aunt Sham chattered on the phone. Miss Ava, Jack's family lives in an earthen house built decades ago. Now no one in our village lives in such an earthen house anymore. It's so dilapidated. Next to it is a pigsty. The pigs keep squealing every day. It's so stinky and noisy. Jack's mother and your little sister now make a living by raising pigs. Okay. I see. Aunt Shang. I've already transferred this month's money to you. Oh. Miss Ava is so generous and straightforward. How could your little sister marry into such a family? Aunt Shang was happy to receive the money but couldn't help her gossipy nature. My sister cut off relations with the family for Jack. I briefly mentioned it. Then your little sister must have been deceived. I heard that Jack had a house in City A before. And he also deceived it from another girl. Aunt Shang continued to share the gossip. Then please, Aunt Shang, keep an eye on her for me. Just contact me if anything happens. Thinking of Ella, who used to be a pampered girl but now lies next to a pigsty. I couldn't help feeling sad. But I knew that even so, she was still so blinded by love that she couldn't change. 18. The neighbors all talked behind their backs. That daughter-in-law of Jack's family is so pitiful. Her mother-in-law has always blamed her for being a disaster, causing her son to go to prison. Another neighbor also chimed in. Indeed. The old woman either beats or scolds her daughter-in-law. And she's very heavy-handed. In this way, a long time passed again. And Jack was released from prison and returned to his hometown. After Jack came back, he vented all the anger he had suffered in prison over the years on Ella. His beatings and scoldings of Ella became even more severe. Ella finally couldn't bear the domestic violence and asked for a divorce. Jack slapped her hard and knocked her into the pigsty. And she was covered in mud and pig dung. You want a divorce? Don't even think about it. After causing me so much harm, you can't run away in this lifetime. Jack's mother hit Ella with a broom for cleaning pig dung and cursed her bitterly. My son was living a glorious life in City A. It's all because of you. This jinx. That my son lost his house and went to prison. And now you want a divorce? No way. Aunt Shang reported to me on the phone. Soon after, Aunt Shang said that Ella was pregnant. Ella asked for a prenatal checkup, but all she got was a new round of domestic violence. Jack didn't take her to the hospital at all, let alone a prenatal checkup. The child was born at home. Giving birth to a child isn't that delicate. Our Jack was born at home too. And he's just fine. Why waste money going to the hospital? The family is almost out of food. Jack's mother sneered at her. In the following 2 years, she was constantly pregnant and gave birth to 3 children one after another. All born at home. Due to the lack of prenatal checkups. Plus Jack's smoking and drinking and unrestrained sexual life during pregnancy. The second child was a Down syndrome baby. Not long after the third child was born, he had a high fever and died. Jack and his mother became even more unscrupulous in their beatings and scoldings of her, believing that it was Ella's problem that the children were not healthy. Even because of the birth of the children, which led to increased economic pressure. They took it out on her and beat and scolded her more frequently. 19. One day, Aunt Shang suddenly called me at a time other than the agreed-upon time and said anxiously on the phone, "Oh no, Miss Eva, your sister has gone mad." Jack said she was faking it, and beat her to death. When I heard this news, my heart seemed to be suddenly gripped. I arranged for people to go to Jack's hometown with me. When I arrived at Jack's hometown, I saw a scene of devastation. Unexpectedly, after so many years, when our sisters met again, it was such a scene. Ella was in rags, covered with bruises. Her hair was messy, and her eyes were hollow. She kept muttering, "Sister, doll." Jack casually picked up something at hand and threw it at Ella without mercy. He cursed and said she was lazy, not working, and faking madness. My people forcibly took Ella away. Jack still tried to stop them, and shouted loudly. Why are you taking her away? She's my wife. I sued Jack in court for domestic violence and torturing Ella until she became mentally deranged. Jack was still quibbling. I didn't. She went mad on her own. It has nothing to do with me. In court. Aunt Shaun and other neighbors testified in court. Plus Ella's injury assessment. Finally, Jack was sent to prison again. This time he was sentenced to 10 years. 20. Looking at that familiar yet strange sister, I had mixed feelings in my heart. Ella, who once laughed and grew up with me, has become like this now. I brought Ella and her two children back from the countryside to the home where we grew up together and arranged for a special person to take care of Ella. Let her recuperate from her injuries and also take care of the two children as they grow up. But Ella just looks at me blankly as if she doesn't recognize me. Still muttering. Dull. Hide and seek. I look at the two young children and gently rub their heads. Children. This will be your home from now on. And Auntie will take good care of you. Although the children are still young, and don't understand anything, they just blink their big, curious eyes and observe this clean, tidy and bright home. Ella, if you also had the chance to be reborn, would you still choose this path?